welcome to the Hearts Afire Podcast. Today's discussion is all about gratitude, its meaning, and how it's connected to Thanksgiving. And I'm so pleased to share that we're going to be joined today by Sister Didi Madden. Before we get to our discussion, I'd like to remind you that whether you're watching this episode live or listening to it on a podcast, make sure to never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button now. We appreciate your support of the Hearts Afire podcast. Now on to today's discussion about gratitude with our guest, Sister Didi Madden. For those of you who don't know her, Sister Didi is the Justice Promoter of the OPSCC, and she also ministers at Harmony Farm in Goshen, New York. I'd like to now welcome Sister Didi and thank her for joining the Hearts Afire podcast today.
Hi, Katie. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we're so pleased to have you, and let's dive right into it. So, Sister Didi, what does gratitude mean to you?
So, on the face of things, gratitude for me is the recognition that my life is connected to other people, to creation, to life itself, and that connection, which is a gift from God, that connection creates in me this feeling of awe, this feeling of presence, this feeling of thankfulness. And that to me is gratitude. It's all those things. It's not just thankfulness, but it's the awe and the connection. I do want to say a couple of things about gratitude. It's a big topic these days, and gratitude is a practice. It's an orientation, and it is a grace. And so I think we need to really pay attention to each of those elements. You know, gratitude as a practice is constantly bringing myself into an awareness that everything is gift, and to pause and both be thankful for that to others, but also to receive the thankfulness from others. So to go out and see the beauty of the day, the sun shining, the gold of autumn, and all those things, and just to really be thankful, that's a practice. And when we do that, we become oriented to life as in a stance of gratitude rather than problem. And so we can only have that orientation through practice and discipline. And then when we do that and we're oriented, then all of a sudden we become, I think, aware of God's grace and the grace to know that life is a gift. Good things, bad things, hard things, joyful things are all gift. And from that place, we enter into relationship with God, with thankfulness, with joy. And that to me is the fullness of gratitude.
I love that. And I couldn't agree with you more on that. It's really a beautiful definition of gratitude. And, just moving forward, tomorrow is obviously Thanksgiving, a day where many of us gather with our loved ones to, come together to express our gratitude and enjoy a delicious meal for many of us. And can you talk about the connection between Thanksgiving and gratitude and what it means to you?
Sure. I'm a first generation American on my dad's side. He was born in Ireland. And during a really rough time, during the Easter Rising, he was about 2 or 3 and lost his dad during that time. And they struggled in Ireland. And so his mother finally moved him here to the United States with his brother and sister, and they started a new life. And so for us, Thanksgiving has always been about that journey. My mother has been here since family has been here through the 1600s. She's an American mutt, and so we were always very aware that it was a conscious decision to leave home and come to a better place. And so the gratitude or the experience of Thanksgiving really flowed from that. And so it was always a very joyous day for us. As I got older and as I got into justice work, I began to realize that Thanksgiving is not a joyful memory for many people, many Americans, that it's a time of suffering and loss. And so I think what Thanksgiving calls to mind in me is that we should be grateful, we can be grateful, and at the same time have to be aware that there is suffering, that Thanksgiving is not an easy time. It's a complex time where we experience life in suffering and life as gratitude. And those two realities are always very much linked. And so I think it deepens our capacity to deal with suffering, and it deepens our capacity for gratitude. So Thanksgiving is for me, a time of great learning, great sensitivity, and a time for gathering with people I love and in just enjoying their company and our history together.
That's lovely. And I couldn't agree with you more. And Sister Didi, do you think our world today needs more gratitude? And if so, how can we express it better?
Yeah. I think our world definitely needs more gratitude for several reasons. I think our world needs more gratitude because the greater our capacity for gratitude, the greater our capacity for looking at the suffering in our world and dealing with it and not turning away from it. And so we need to grow our capacity for gratitude in order to be able to create the change that we're called to create in this world. So I think we need it for that reason. I think we also need it because gratitude teaches us how to stand in the world. So we really, and as I talk about this, the pictures of people come up in my mind, and I'm sure other people's minds, that there are people who are usually stand in the world as grateful. They're people who look at the positive side, who appreciate the small things, who can really relish a moment of their day. We also know people who always look at the problem, who have a very short temper or capacity for frustration, and people who suffer and feel misery more. And so our world not only needs gratitude, our world needs us to take on the discipline and practice of gratitude so that we can be present and active in changing not only ourselves, but the people around us and the world around us.
Well said. And do you have any favorite Bible verses or scriptures about gratitude? And if so, please share it with our listeners.
So actually, this isn't necessarily my favorite, but a friend of mine, it's actually the scripture quote that their family lives by. And it's, this is the day God has made, let us rejoice and be glad. And whenever I gather with them, inevitably, someone will say that in response to some part of the conversation. So it's, for me, it's one of those things that flows from me in conversations. But my real favorite story for gratitude is the story of the bent over woman who suffered physically for many, many years. And in her encounter with Jesus, she was healed and stood tall and praised God. And so for me, it's a scripture story that teaches us exactly how to be in relationship with ourselves and with our God.
That's great. And Sister Didi, final question for today. What are you grateful for?
I'll begin my list. I'm grateful for the gift of faith and prayer in my life. I'm grateful for the congregation, the community of women that I belong to. I'm grateful for my health, and I'm grateful for the ability to work for change in our world.
That's great. And, I just want to thank you for today joining us. And, I know you're a very busy woman and you do so much. And that's why so many people admire you. And thank you for all that you do and for joining us today. We hope that you'll join us for future discussions.
Thanks, Katie. It's been fun. Have
Good.
a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Sister Didi.
You too. Bye-bye.
And before we go, I'd like to remind you that if you enjoyed today's discussion, please let us know by giving the Hearts Afire podcast a 5-star rating on wherever you listen to your podcasts. We hope that you'll tune into our next discussion in 2 weeks, where Sister Liz Engel would join us to reflect on her lifelong ministry at Downeyside Adoption Services. Thank you again for tuning into the Hearts Afire podcast, and please know that you are in the daily prayers of our sisters and associates. And on behalf of the Sisters of St. Dominic of Blauvelt, New York, I'd like to wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. May we all enjoy the day and fill it with gratitude.